Hey everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and it is that time of the month again. No, not that time of the month. It's time for the Adventurer's Path TBR game. As I film this, it is the 19th of March. My brain is saying to me that I could wait a few days, film this next week, give myself more of a chance. But the reality is that I have finished 0 books so far in March. I've started one that arrived yesterday, so isn't even on my TBR for this. And to be frank, I don't think my current reading slump is going to... my current novel reading slump. Because my manga game is pretty damn good. And this month I've read, I think, 6 or 7 manga currently, and I've got about another 5 or 6 that I plan to read before the end of the month. So my manga game is strong, my novels game struggling. She is kind of not even staying afloat. She drowned a long time ago, and the fish are now taking a few nibbles, and yeah, I've just kind of embraced it. I'm like, do you know what, this is my year for graphic novel and manga, very clearly. But if you're not sure about what the Adventurer's Path is all about, please do check out last month's video where I added some changes to the board, I reset the rules, and I went through everything, so it's very fresh, very updated. But essentially I am going to be rolling the dice 6 times and choosing 6 books to, you know, read. The caveat that I have for April, part 1, we have Orilium, so this is also going to double up as my Orilium TBR, and I'm going to try as much as possible to have my Orilium prompts match these books and these prompts. I haven't even looked at the Orilium video yet. Probably should have done that before I started filming, but oh well. And I have decided that it's going to be a NetGalley month for me. I really want to try and get my NetGalley score up. I've got a few books on there that haven't yet come out, so I still have time to, you know, be ahead of the trend on that one. I don't know why I keep holding the board up, I don't need it. So that's what I'm going to do, is combine this game, Orilium, and try to pick books off my NetGalley library. Wish me luck, I'm going to need it. I mean, obviously I'm saying wish me luck when you're not going to see the pain that I'm going to have to go through. I mean, I probably won't even be back today with my TBR. You'll see another clip of me in like other clothes in like a week's time where I'm just crying because I can't do it. But we shall see. Anyway, that's a lot of chatting. I should stop chatting. So let's go to the board, let's get our rolls done and see how much suffering I need to go through. Okay, no word of a lie, this is my 3rd time trying to film this. It's just, I don't know if I'm just tired or if just the world is against me right now. Let's start again and hope that this time it actually records. But I have tallied up, and essentially because of the 2 Jar of Despairs, that means I've got to go back 20 steps plus the 6 that I didn't do, so 26 steps. Basically, I'm restarting the entire game, which is, you know, fantastic. So yeah. Okay, so starting off with our first roll for April, we have a 5, which means we're starting with a standard everyday prompt, and that is plus size rep with graphic novel and manga as the bonus. Roll number 2, we have a 6, which means we are going into our adventurer's log and reflecting on something from a past adventure, and we are looking at, ooh, one of my favourites. We got an assassin, blood, dagger, shadow or poison in the title. Love that for me. Really have got a thing for assassins. Don't know what that says about me other than I probably need psychiatric help, but whatever, who cares, right? Roll number 3. Oh no, that could be dangerous. Another 5. This dice really likes the number 5. I'm thinking I might need to swap the dice out at some point. Which means we've got another standard prompt. And it is, oh, I wish I had Jonah's. Jonah, send me your clip of vampires. So we have vampires. And can I remember what the prompt is for that? LGBT. So gay, vampires. Oh, I already know what I'm going to pick. No, I don't. We'll see. Roll number 4 is a 2 and another standard prompt, which is to continue a series. Not sure how many of those I've got on NetGalley. And it also has audiobook, but whatever. Who needs bonuses, right? Roll number 5 we have... Oh god, another 2. Oh no. But it does mean that we have a nice little fun one, which is our tarot deck that I didn't think I was going to need, so I haven't brought it over. Ow. Hyper stretch. I'm not going to mess around. I'm not going to shuffle them. I'm literally just going to go with whatever the top card is. I do not have it in me today to put effort in. For anyone interested, Anna asked on my last video, this is the Orion's Animal Tarot by Ambi Sun. And the card that we are going to go with is the top one, like I said, because I can't be bothered. Panda! Okay, red panda. So as I said with this one, I can choose to either go with a, like the colour here is predominantly yellow, so I could go with yellow. I could go with a book that's got foliage on. If I've got a book with a red panda, I can go for that. Or I can look up what the meaning of the card is, which I just can't be bothered to do right this second. And then roll number 6 that I'm hoping is not going to be a duplicate of any numbers we've already have. Of course. Do you know what? Don't even care. I do not care. Whatever. We have a 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank God. That means that we have managed to avoid the Jar of Despair, but it means that we've got another adventurer's log, and this time round we are looking at the Seer. That was one that unfortunately did not make it into the final cut, even though it was one of my favourites, and we have a 5-star prediction. I am notoriously good at saying I think a book's going to be 5-star and then immediately thinking no it's not, as is shown in a recent video that I did, literally posted it today. And yeah, go check that one out if you want to see how bad I am at predicting 5 stars. But it means that we now have an extra roll, which is fantastic. I swear I'm not actually doing this on purpose. Why do I put myself through this every single month? Just why? I mean, because it's fun and I love choosing books even if I have no intention of reading them, but why? I need a hug and I need a snack. And it means that we haven't even finished the board, which is great. We have a regular prompt, and for this one we have a 2024 debut. I should update that to 2025. And the bonus is queer. I'm sure I've got a few of those. But it does mean that I've got another roll, but because we're literally, no matter... Oh, you can't see it on the camera. That's great. Let's move the board. Because I'm on the last square, the last spot, it does not matter what I roll. I will be finishing this pathway. So we're going to see what this one is. I mean, an early win would be great. I could do with a reward, but it's not going to be that way because it's me. So we'll see what this one is, and then that will be the end of this round. So, what have we got? What are you going to do to me? Are you going to be nice? Or are you going to be a dick? You're going to be a Grayson. Sorry, I've been watching Titans. Dead End. Complete a series. I mean, I probably can do that. I don't know if I've got any NetGalley books for that, but we'll see. We have our prompts. My sanity is long gone, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm now gonna go agonise over some books and go watch the Orilium video to figure out what the prompts are there, so I actually know what the hell I'm gonna be reading. Okay, before I clear the board and start screaming at the universe again, I just thought of a really cool idea. The Dead End card, I was kind of like, it's supposed to be a challenge card, and yes, the prompt is a challenge, but I was like, well, there's no real punishment if I don't do it. So I've decided if I reach a dead end and I get the challenge card, if I don't complete that challenge, I have to put that card back and restart that entire pathway from the beginning. I think that is a very suitable punishment, don't you? Okay, now I'm going to go back to screaming at the void. Not Jonah, the other void. The void of despair. As I so correctly predicted, it's the next day. I was just so tired when I finished picking my prompts last night and deciding on my Orilium path and what I was going to do. I was just so tired, I needed to go to bed. I'm going to begin with the Adventurer's Path prompts, and then I will talk you through like Orilium and where my character is currently at and what I'm doing for that. So for the Adventurer's Path, as I said for this, I am focusing on my NetGalley books, and all but one of these, of everything I've picked, only one thing is not an arc from my NetGalley shelves, which I'm very, very happy about. But the first of these prompts was plus size rep, and the bonus was graphic novel and manga. I unfortunately have not gone for a graphic novel or manga, it is just a regular novel, but it is When Grumpy Met Sunshine. This one is a romance, it's contemporary setting. I was trying to see if I could do this without having to look, but I can't because it's me and my memory is not that good. So it says it's Cinderella inspired. He's a grumpy ex-footballer and he gets badged into selling his memoirs. He knows he would never be able to do it himself, so he hires, what's her name? So he hires a ghostwriter, and she is described as curvy, cheery and cute as hell. And she is obviously our Sunshine character. After their business arrangement is mistaken for them being romantically linked, they end up going into like this fake dating kind of agreement. I'm not really sure. It mentions Cinderella a few times, yet nothing about the blurb tells me that this is Cinderella, because it's not like it's a rags to riches, it's just kind of a rich guy dating a not rich woman. So I'm failing to see exactly where Cinderella plays into this, but I'm sure or hope that when I read this it will be a bit more apparent. Because I'm not really a fan of when publishers in particular are like, oh, it's a Beauty and the Beast, and you're like, where? You know, and it does happen, not often, but it does happen, and it's like, why are you misrepresenting your book like this? But I do love myself a good grumpy Sunshine. So number 2 was Assassin, which was blood, dagger, poison or shadow in the title. Kid you not, I was sat in my living room for about a minute going, blood! 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 And my uncle was in the kitchen getting his lunch ready and he was just like, what the... I just got excited, okay? I was excited because I found 5 books that had blood in the title. However, I have decided that the one I'm gonna read is actually one that I started and got about halfway through last year. And then for some reason I put it down one day and then never went back to it, but I can still remember almost exactly what happened, so I think I will be able to just pick it up and finish it, and that is Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrew. I was getting the vibes of Peter Pan from it. I don't know if it is I don't think it is actually a Peter Pan retelling, but just with the way the characters were acting and some of the things that were being inferred, I was like, hey, this feels a bit Peter Pan-esque. You got like the boy that doesn't grow up and he's like immortal, and I think one of the characters is actually called Peter. And I started to wonder, and it's basically a girl, she's like the last one in her family. She returns home and she finds that her childhood friend has been kept captive in the basement, and that every few years he gets sacrificed in order to protect the rest of their village. And when she returns home, she frees him, which then unleashes some not very good things, and now their other childhood friend has returned to sort of help with the situation, only I feel like he's got ulterior motives. But the one that was chained up, Peter, he vows to kill the last person in her bloodline, which happens to be her. So we have this whole situation going on, and that's the point I left off, was just before the second guy arrived, so about halfway or just under halfway through the book. So yeah, I will get back to that and get that finished. The next one was vampires, and if I could make it queer in some way, shape or form, then that would be an added bonus. And even though the main story isn't about queerness and there isn't really a romance from what I understand, the main character is herself queer, which I'm gonna count, and that is Mina and the Undead. So it's set in New Orleans, it's during the 90s. Mina has just moved to there after, I think her mum dies or something. and starts to wonder if maybe there are vampires around. And apparently it is for fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Apparently it's got quite a lot of nostalgia in there, and even though it's YA, it sounds like it's gonna be the kind of horror that I'm wanting, where it's not over the top and super graphic, but it does give you a good thrill ride and makes you go like, ooh. So the fact that it's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer alone makes me excited, so we shall see how that goes. We then had continuous series with audiobook as the bonus. I have not gone for an audiobook. I did have one book on my NetGalley that is a continuation of a series technically, and that was In Walked Trouble by Dana Hawkins, but I wanted to double it up with one of my Orilium prompts. I'm not going to say which one, but when I checked it, I couldn't double it up. So I was like, ah, crap. So what I've done is I have gone for a manga that I bought recently, and that is One Piece volumes 13, 14, 15. Obviously this is a bind up of 3 manga volumes, but I count them as individual ones when I'm doing my tracking. So I'm going to try and get through volume 13, but knowing me, I'm just going to do all 3 during the month. And if you don't know about One Piece, all you need to know is pirates and fun, chaotic campers. Then we had our tarot card pull, which was the Page of Wands. We had our red panda, and I was saying about the themes and stuff, but in the end, I just went basic bitch, and I went with just the bright yellow cover and like the yellows and reds and stuff. And I've gone with The Fifth Horseman by John Smith. This is I believe, a comedy. It's a comic fantasy, and it says that it's a darkly comic tale of 2 30-somethings caught between our world and the afterlife who must embrace their role as reapers to prevent the end times. These 2 people had a bad day. They died. Now they've been recruited to become reapers, and they've basically got this challenge where they have to try and stop the end of days, only it's not going to go very smoothly. This one has been intriguing to me. It has one of my buzzwords, which is reapers and death, I guess, so 2 buzzwords. So I am looking forward to this, and I do want to get to it. And if one of my R Fantasy predictions, which go check that video out, if one of my R Fantasy predictions come true, this will also come in handy for getting an early head start on that, so even more of a bonus. Then we had Sia, which was a 5-star prediction, and I have chosen The Rainfall Market by Yu Yong Gwang, which is a Korean author. This is a market that pops up every now and again for people who need it. You can only enter with an invite, and then we follow our main character, who is kind of hating her life right now, has kind of lost direction, and she is invited to go to this market. She is told that she has 1 week to browse the market as she wishes, and it's like each place she goes into has like a potential perfect life for her, and she now has 1 week to browse as much as she wants and find herself the perfect life that she wants. She is accompanied by this cat and a mysterious shadow, as it says here. But she has one caveat, and that is if at the end of the week you haven't found your dream life and you haven't chosen which life to swap with the current life you have, you will be forced to remain there forever. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be a commentary about like appreciate the things that you have, and that, you know, just because you might be able to change your life doesn't mean it's going to be for the better. I reckon it's going to be that kind of theme. But if it's anything like the other translated fics that I've enjoyed, it will be a very high 4, if not a 5-star. So I'm going to go out on a whim and say 5 stars. Then we have one that I said in the video, it was a 2024 debut, and I was like, oh, I should have updated that to a 2025. And I have changed it because I do have a 2025 debut. Not necessarily a first time ever debut. Both of the authors have already released YA books, but it is both of their first adult debut. And for me, when I talk about debuts, I count your first ever book as well as like your first book in a thing that you've never done before. And this is Homegrown Magic by Jamie Pacton and Rebecca Podos, and this is a cozy LGBT fantasy. It just says here, delightfully queer cottagecore romantasy. I am definitely looking forward to that. The main character, Yael, is the only heir to like a really super wealthy family, but they don't want that life for themselves, so they basically go on the run. They end up where this like greenhouse attendant, she runs a small business running a greenhouse, and it's basically, by the looks of things, they come from a super wealthy family, her family had their money taken from a super wealthy family, so I've got a feeling there's going to be some drama in there, but the two of them end up falling in love. I'll give it a go. I'm not sure about this one. And then finally we reached the end of the challenge, which was to complete a series, and thankfully I had one single book on my NetGalley shelves that completes a series, and that is All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. The first book in that one is Not Only a Monster, that's Vanessa Len, All of Us Villains, which I did give 5 stars when I first read it. I then started a reread of it about 2 years ago, and then for some reason just did not get back to it and didn't finish it. So I'm going to try, even though I am currently in a really bad reading slump. I have in the last couple of days I've read a couple of manga, and now I'm kind of wanting to pick up a book. So when I go upstairs today to sleep, I am gonna actually go back to that reread and try and get that reread before the end of this month, so I can go straight into the sequel next month. It's kind of a Hunger Games-esque system where you've got all of these families in an area, and whoever wins the tournament, each sort of, I think it's every 10 years, they have a round of this tournament, and whoever wins it, their family controls all of the magic. And we follow all these the kids from these different families and their journey through this competition. That's a very, very brief summary of it, but that is the summary of the book. That's everything that I had for The Adventurer's Path. And then for Orilium, my character has had a bit of a journey. When she first joined Orilium Academy and first went on her adventure, she was from an area where she lived more sort of in caverns and cave systems. She'd never really explored the above world, and she grew up in sort of like a mining industry, so she was very familiar with things like gemstones and inscriptions and things like that, because that's what she grew up with, and she knew that she didn't really want to do that. And so when she got the opportunity to go to Orilium, she was like, I want to explore as much of the world as I physically can, and she decided she was going to be a Feywild cartographer. However, once she got to Orilium and started her studying, she realised that even though she still wanted to explore the world, she had a natural gift towards botany and plants. And whilst the learning side of the world, and whilst the going out into the fields and collecting plants and things like that and studying the flora and fauna was attractive to her, on some of their field trips for Feywild Cartographer, she really struggled with more of the adventurous sides of things, and it became very clear to her that maybe it was a bit too much too soon. So she chose to specialise in her second year purely in botany, because, you know, she just wanted to, she discovered all these plants that she'd never seen before and learning their medicinal properties. She was just absolutely enraptured by it. Then in the third year, Orilium opened up a new program that allowed her to use her studies but also go back to her roots with the Eldian excavationist. And in the caverns where she grew up, they had a lot of sort of these excavations and they had a lot of ruins, and so she grew up around excavationists. And so for nostalgia, and also to learn not only about the plants that have existed now, but also to learn about the ones that have existed in the past, she decided to study as an excavationist. Unfortunately, she did realise that the intensity of the lore and the history was just a little bit too much for her, and she missed that hands-on plant approach. So over the sort of the summer vacation after her last round of exams, she ended up working not only in the botany department and sort of doing extra research in her own time, but she also was introduced to the kitchens, where not only did she learn about how her plants and her botany, but she then learned the next step where you can take those plants and turn it into food. And she has always enjoyed cooking. Like, one of her favourite things when going out on the Feywild Cartographer excursions, excursions was the group cooking at the end of the day. Quite often in her dorm that she shares with the other girls, she can be found in the corner where the fireplace is, making little meals in the middle of the night for everyone. She has always had an interest in cooking as well, but that had always taken second place to her love for the plants, and now she's realised that there is an opportunity for her to combine both of her loves of learning about the plants and learning about botany. Like she knows that being a healer isn't for her, but she's always loved the idea of merging magic with food and plant, and now that she's learning about these plants and she can make food dishes with them, a whole new realm of possibilities has just opened up for her. So for her 4th year, she is going to be, I know you said dual wielding, but she is actually going to be studying for 2 subjects. She is going to be studying botany, herbology, but she is also going to be studying to become a hearthkeeper. She likes the idea of being someone that can grow her own food and then make magical infused food to serve. And just little things like, you know, being able to maybe go back one day as a Feywild cartographer, but more as like a cook for the company, and be able to, you know, go out into the wild, grab a bunch of plants, make some food that maybe is like, you know, a warming stew, so after you've eaten it you're warm for a few hours. She's really intrigued by all of that side of things now. So yeah, she's going to be going down those routes. That is May Tharanar's story. That's where she is at currently in her studies. For me, Kirsty, I don't know why I keep doing these things to myself. As well as the subjects, I am also going to try and start getting a couple of the side questy things for her. So I mentioned that as a herbologist, she's been, like, in her holidays, she was helping out with the botany and stuff. So for that, it's going to be that she is going to go for her apothecary keeper position. And she also is going to try and expand on her botany knowledge by volunteering as a bog cataloguer. And again, all of those prompts, as well as the subject prompts, apart from one, will all fit into the 8 Adventurers Path TBR, which is fantastic. Okay, let's pretend it's the same day and that I didn't make an error when filming, but I went back, I double checked on the FAQs. I probably should have realised this and not been an idiot, but it does make it very clear in the rules that if you do 2 subjects, like 2 careers, you have to, if you've got a subject that is in both careers, you would then have to read it twice. So I didn't think that one through, but what I'm going to do is when I go onto those prompts, I will add a little box with what the second book will be, because 2 subjects, alchemy and restoration, are in both. So what she's going to do is study for herbologist, and once she's done the books for that, she will then do the extra books and the extra study to go for the hearthkeeper role. So that way I can try and get at least 1 under my belt and continue with that one, if nothing else. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'll do the same obviously in the autumn semester. And then I also then realised that that does also apply to the extracurricular things. So in the original video, I will cut those clips out, but when I originally filmed this, I was saying that I would also really like to go for a couple of extra things. So May Tharanar wants to go for an apothecary keeper, as well as a bog cataloguer. And again, what I was doing is the books that I picked out for my main prompts, I then doubled them up. But again, realised that that goes against the whole point of it. So what I've done is one of them I will just make partial progress towards, the other one I might be able to do the whole thing. So for Apothecary Keeper, 2 books with plants on the cover, I have chosen a graphic novel that I've got on my NetGalley, which is I Felt Myself Slipping by Ray Nadine. This is a gymnastics LGBT thing, I think. Yeah, so it's 2 gymnasts who find unexpected friendship, and I think maybe it could be that there's some other stuff going on as well there. Maybe not romantic, but certainly just other societal stuff going on. And then for the bog cataloguer, it's to read a book with water, a body of water on the cover. And I have put it somewhere, but I have the One Piece omnibus with volumes 13, 14 and 15. Originally I used 13 for all of them, but instead I'm just going to do, you know, volume 13 for one prompt, volume 14 for another prompt, and then volume 15 for bog cataloger, just to make my life so much easier. So now we're going to go on to the rest of the prompts, and we're going to forget that this little blip ever happened. For herbology, I need alchemy and restoration. For the hearthkeeper, we need alchemy, restoration, and spells and incantation. I forgot I've got 4, not 3. For hearthkeeper, we actually have alchemy, restoration, spells and incantation, and elemental studies. Alchemy, we have the prompt volume magnification, which is an all capital title. I've just seen another one that I really want to get to, which is a manga, and that is Home Office Romance. It's by the same author as Sweat and Soap, and so I'm just going to go with that. I haven't looked up what the book is about, but it's a romance and it's based around computers and home offices and stuff, so as the name suggests, yeah. I'll tell you more about it when I do my wrap up. For spells and incantation, we had a word copy paste, which is a word from your previous read title. I am not kidding you. I started off with my most recent read, nothing, because that was the Ayakashi Hunter's Tainted Bride. I mean, the word the would have counted, but I didn't want to use like the and is for, you know, those kind of words. I wanted like keywords. So none of that. So I was like, well, okay, well, what was my last novel? And I was like, The Fiancé Farce. Didn't have that. And eventually it took me going back until Watakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, which was about 8 manga ago. And I was like, thank God, love. There's got to be something with love. And there was. There was one single manga, I Want to Love You Till Your Dying Day, Volume 1 by Machi Aono. And this one is a Yuri, so it's sapphic. It's set in a world where it's an orphanage that is actually a boot camp that churns out child soldiers for this war. Magical child soldiers, so it's like a fantasy setting. These two girls, while at this orphanage and training for this war, they end up falling in love despite all of the odds. I'm taking a bit of a chance, not only because, as we know, Yuri isn't always my favourite, but also I'm not really a fan of stories that revolve around like child soldiers and that kind of thing. Like Attack on Titan, it was a fantastic series, but it did make me so uncomfortable seeing these teenagers being put in these situations. I don't know, sometimes I don't mind. Like Gundam Wing I seem to be okay with, but maybe that was because I was a teenager myself, so I was just like, this is kind of cool, whereas now I'm like, they are babies. It's like showing my age, because I'm genuinely old enough now to be the parents of those characters. Like, when I was first watching that show, I was old enough to date them because they were the same age as me, and now I'm old enough to be the parent of them, and that terrifies me because it's like, ugh, I'm so old, you know? It's a real thing when you've been like an otaku for like 20 odd years. It gets characters that you were once fine to crush over, suddenly you're like, wait, I could be their mother. Huh? Anyway, that was a weird little tangent, but that is the synopsis of that story. For restoration, this is one that I could double up with my Adventurer's Path TBR, and that one is Uncommon Antidote, so read a 4+ star rating. I did kind of mention this on the Adventurer's Path prompt that I was going to do In What Trouble for one of the prompts, but when I went onto onto Goodreads, it only has a 3.8, which is still fantastic, but not what I need. I needed a 4, so I went to good old trusty One Piece, because I think every single volume of One Piece is 4 and above. So yeah, One Piece for the win. Saved my ass. I feel like this series is going to save my ass in so many upcoming TBRs. It's going to be great. And then for elemental studies, it was to study earth, and we're looking at fruits, which is fruit on the cover. And again, had a bit of trouble at first, but then I thought, ooh, homegrown magic. It's a cozy cottage core fantasy. I'm sure that's going to have a fruit, and it does. It has strawberries, and I got so excited about the fact that it had strawberries on the cover that when I wrote it down, I wrote strawberry instead of the title of the book. So I knew what I was going to talk about, but no one else would have known. I was just like, for God's sake. I just got a little overexcited. And then, so those are the main prompts that I needed. And then, like I said, I do also have the kind of extra things that you can do for like extracurricular stuff. So the first of those is the Apothecary Keeper. Am I being extraordinarily ambitious with this TBR, knowing that in the last 2 months I have read the grand total of 1 single book? Absolutely. But have I felt weirdly rejuvenated by putting this TBR together, and I'm actually kind of finding myself excited to start reading again? Also, yes, so I think that's what I need, is every now and again to have 1 or 2 months where I barely read anything, and then I'll just binge. I'm also, like I said, I am massively in a manga mood at the minute. In my time in Australia, I read almost 80 manga, and then since I've been back, I've read about another 10 or so. So my story graph is currently like 15 books ahead of what it needs to be, and all of that is manga. So, you know, I'm clearly really embracing the manga reading, and I don't really care. Like, yes, it's great to read novels, but if I'm finding joy in reading, it doesn't matter what I'm reading. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic, very cautiously, but I am optimistic. Anyway, I'm sorry that this is a slightly longer video. It's just I don't really like to do TBRs in separate videos if I can avoid it. But thank you so much for watching. If you are taking part in Orilium, please let me know, what career is your character doing? Have you stuck with the same one from day one, or have you been like Matharanel and taken a little bit of time to figure out who you are and what you want to study, and sort of flavouring different subjects before you decide to settle? And yeah, I hope in the meantime that you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. Don't forget to check out my Etsy and Patreon that are always linked below, and I will see you on the next one.